My girlfriend said, "My brother needs a car. Give him yours. You can Uber." I replied, "Of course." Then I gave him the keys to a 1997 Ford with no AC, then bought a Tesla in my name. Now her brother is calling me from a mechanic, furious about the repairs. I, 31 male, have always believed that you can learn everything you need to know about a person by watching how they react when they don't get what they want. But it's 1,000 times more instructive to watch what they do when they think they've already won. My girlfriend of 2 years, Jacqueline, 29, was a master of the gentle nudge, the helpful suggestion, the brilliant idea that was always, coincidentally, in her best interest. It started small. "That blue shirt washes you out? You should donate it. Your friends are a little loud, maybe we can see them less." I, being a man in what I thought was a happy relationship, mostly went along with it. A shirt is just a shirt. A quiet night in is fine. We lived together in my apartment, the one I'd secured and furnished long before she moved in. My name was on the lease, my money paid for the couch she was currently curled up on, scrolling through her phone. The real test, the final exam I didn't know I was taking, started last Tuesday. "Babe," she said, not looking up from her screen. "Terry needs a car." Terry, 26, is her brother. To call Terry a work in progress would be an insult to progress. He drifts through life with the serene confidence of a man who has never had to pay his own phone bill. "Okay," I said cautiously. "Is he looking at dealerships?" She finally looked at me. Her expression was the one she used when explaining something very simple to a very dense dog. "No, silly. He needs your car. I have 2 cars. One is my daily driver, a pristine 3-year-old Honda Accord. Reliable, paid for, my pride and joy. The second is a 1997 Ford Taurus I call Old Bessie. It was my first car. The AC gave up the ghost during the Bush administration. The passenger window is permanently closed, and it makes a sound like a dying walrus when you turn the wheel too far. But the engine is surprisingly solid, and it's mine. I kept it for sentimental reasons and the occasional hardware store run." I blinked. "My Accord?" "Well, yeah," she said, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. "He has that new job he has to drive to, and it's not fair for him to have to take the bus. You work from home half the time anyway. You can just Uber." I just stared at her, the sheer, breathtaking audacity of it. The casual way she offered up my property, my hard-earned asset, as a party favor for her brother. Terry, as if summoned by the scent of a free handout, walked in from the kitchen with a beer in his hand. "My beer? From my fridge." "Yeah, man, it'd be a huge help. I'll even throw you a couple $100 for it." A couple $100 for a car worth at least 20 grand. This was the moment, the click in my head. I saw the entire chessboard. They weren't just asking, they were informing me. They had discussed this, planned it, and this was the execution. They saw me not as a partner, but as a resource. An LLC they could liquidate at will. My first instinct was to laugh, to tell them both to get the hell out of my apartment. But where's the fun in that? An explosion is messy. A slow, quiet, methodical dismantling, that's art. I let a look of thoughtful consideration wash over my face. I sighed, running a hand through my hair. "My Accord, huh? Wow, that's a big ask." Jacqueline leaned forward, sensing a crack in the door. "I know, baby, but think of it as an investment in us, in our family. We're a team, right? What's yours is mine. What's yours is mine." A classic. "Okay," I said softly. "Of course, family is important." Jacqueline's face lit up. She practically vibrated with triumph. Terry grinned, clapped me on the shoulder, and said, "Knew you were a good dude." They thought they'd won. They were already celebrating. "There's just one thing," I said, keeping my tone serious. "The bank has the title to the Accord. It's technically not mine to give until it's fully paid off. It's a whole legal thing." This was a lie. I owned it outright. "But my other car, that one's all mine. The title is in my desk drawer." Jacqueline's smile faltered for a half-second. "You mean the old one? The Taurus?" "It runs great," I said earnestly. "And since it's older, the insurance and taxes will be way cheaper for him. It's a much more practical starter car, you know?" I looked at Terry. "It's a gift, man. No couple $100 needed, just take it." Terry, whose brain only processes the words gift and free, immediately brightened. "Seriously? Wow, thanks." Jacqueline, trapped by her own "it's for family" logic, couldn't really object without looking like a hypocrite. She forced a smile. "Wow, babe, that's So generous. The next day, I spent a solid 2 hours cleaning old Bessie. I vacuumed the dusty interior, washed the faded paint, and even armoralled the cracked dashboard. I signed the title over to Terry, a clean, simple transaction. We went to the DMV. It was official. He was the proud owner of a 1997 Ford Taurus. He drove away, the car letting out a series of loud pops that he probably thought sounded cool. Jacqueline was extra affectionate all week. She thought she'd successfully brokered a deal, flexing her power in our relationship. She had no idea. On Friday, I took a half day. I went to a dealership. I'd been saving for a while, planning an upgrade for my birthday later this year. I just moved the timeline up. I bought a brand new Tesla Model 3, long range, midnight silver metallic. I paid in full, and the registration and title are exclusively, unequivocally in my name. I drove it home and parked it in my assigned spot. This morning, Saturday, my phone rang. It was Terry. "Dude, what the hell is wrong with this car?" he shouted over a cacophony of metallic screeching. "I'm on the side of the highway. The mechanic I called said the transmission is shot and it needs a whole new exhaust system. He quoted me $3,000. You sold me a lemon." I let him finish his tirade. When he was done, I said, in my calmest, most reasonable voice, "Terry, I didn't sell you anything. I gave you a car that's nearly 3 decades old for free. The title is in your name. It was running fine when it left my possession. I'm sorry you're having trouble, but it's your car, so it sounds like it's your repair bill." I heard Jacqueline's voice in the background yelling, "Let me talk to him." He must have put me on speaker. "Arthur, this is ridiculous. You did this on purpose. You have to pay for the repairs. Or better yet, you can just trade him. Give him the Honda and you can take the Taurus back." I almost laughed. "Jacqueline, the Taurus isn't mine to take back. It's legally Terry's. I can't help what happens to his property." A pause. Then Terry, his voice tight with fury. "I saw your new car, by the way. A freaking Tesla? You bought a Tesla?" "I did," I said cheerfully. "I needed a new daily driver after all, since, I gave my other car away." The silence on the other end of the line was exquisite. It was the sound of 2 strategists realizing they'd been playing checkers while their opponent was playing chess, and he just said, "Checkmate." Jacqueline finally spoke, her voice dangerously low. "We are going to have a long talk when you get home." "Oh," I said. "I'm not coming home. I'm at a hotel. I think it's best if you and Terry have my apartment to yourselves for now. Gives you a place to figure out how to get him back from the mechanic." I hung up. Now they're both calling, over and over. I've just been letting it ring. I know this is far from over. They played their hand. Now it's my turn to play mine. Update. It's been a week. A long, long week. After the initial monsoon of calls and texts, I blocked their numbers. For a whole day, there was silence. It was bliss. I used the quiet to tie up a few loose ends. I took care of the final piece of my old life, the Accord. I sold it to a young family who seemed genuinely thrilled to have a reliable car. The cash went straight into my investment account. It felt good, like closing a door cleanly instead of just walking away. Then came the emails. Jacqueline, it turns out, is a much more effective writer than she is a speaker. Her emails were masterpieces of revisionist history. Our relationship wasn't a 2-year partnership. It was a saga of her supporting me through my struggles. My apartment wasn't mine, it was the home we built together. The car demand wasn't a demand, it was a misunderstood conversation where you offered to help my struggling brother. According to her, I hadn't just given Terry a bad car, I had orchestrated a cruel, premeditated public humiliation of her and her family. The Tesla was the ultimate slap in the face. It was flaunting my wealth while her brother was stranded and facing financial ruin. The final email had a simple subject line, "Our things." In it, she informed me that since I had abandoned our home, she had taken the liberty of packing up some of my things to keep them safe. She also said Terry would be staying in the apartment for a while. He'd lost his new job, the one he was still on probation for. Apparently, not showing up on day 3 because your free car needs repairs is, in fact, a fireable offense. He couldn't make rent at his place and needed a stable environment. "Since you have the Tesla," she wrote, "you obviously don't need the apartment right now." My blood ran cold. They weren't just guests anymore. They were squatters. This was their countermove. They were betting I'd rather give in and pay for Terry's car. Or better yet, just sign over the new Tesla to avoid the nightmare of an eviction process. I didn't reply. Answering them is playing their game. Instead, I called my building's property manager, a no-nonsense woman named Catherine. "Catherine," I said, "I have a bit of a situation. My ex-girlfriend and her brother are in my apartment and are refusing to leave." "Is her name on the lease?" Catherine asked immediately. "No, never has been." "Are they threatening you? Have they damaged property?" "Not yet, but they've moved him in and informed me via email that they're staying. I've already changed my mailing address and forwarded all my bills. I'm worried about them trying to establish residency." Catherine was silent for a moment. "You're right to be. Don't engage with them. I'll handle it." The lease agreement is very clear about unauthorized occupants. Section 7, subsection B. You gave your girlfriend a key, but that key doesn't grant her the right to move in her family. It's a violation. People like Jacqueline and Terry think rules are for other people. They rely on social pressure. They're not prepared for the cold, impersonal wall of bureaucracy. 2 days later, I got a frantic call from a number I didn't recognize. It was Jacqueline. "The landlord just taped a notice to our door, a notice to quit. It says we have 3 days to vacate or they'll begin formal eviction proceedings against you. Arthur, this will ruin your rental history. What did you do?" "I didn't do anything, Jacqueline," I said, my voice as calm as a frozen lake. "You did. You violated the terms of my lease. The landlord found out. This is the consequence. You can stop this. Just call her. Tell her Terry is your guest." "But he isn't my guest, Jacqueline. You said it yourself. He moved in. I'm not going to lie to my property manager." "So what are we supposed to do?" she shrieked. "Terry has nowhere to go." "That sounds like a personal problem for Terry," I said. "You have 3 days." I hung up. The next day their dad called me. He tried the disappointed father routine, talking about responsibility and how I'd let his daughter on. I listened patiently. When he was done, I said, "With all due respect, sir, your 29-year-old daughter and 26-year-old son decided to try and take possession of my property. My only responsibility is to the lease I signed. They need to be out by tomorrow at 5 p.m. Then I sent him a screenshot of the title of the Ford Taurus, legally signed over to Terry. He owns the car free and clear. I fulfilled my end of that misunderstood conversation. Jacqueline's last-ditch effort was a vague diatribe on social media about toxic partners and financial abuse. It didn't work. Terry had already spent the last week complaining to every mutual friend who would listen about how I'd given him a crappy free car. He'd been so loud about his own entitlement that everyone already knew the context. They had, in their own strategic brilliance, managed to socially self-destruct. I'm heading back to the apartment tomorrow evening with 2 large friends as witnesses. Catherine, the property manager, will be there. I don't want to win. I just want to be done. Final update. It's over. Finally. I showed up at my apartment yesterday at 5:30 p.m. with my friends, Christian and Sean, videotaping everything. Catherine was already waiting by the door, clipboard in hand, a picture of pure, unadulterated, "I don't have time for this nonsense." Jacqueline opened the door. Her face was pale, tight with a venomous rage. Terry was standing behind her, arms crossed, looking like a sullen teenager. The apartment was a mess. "You're late," Jacqueline snapped. "Traffic," I said, walking past her. "Catherine, thanks for coming." Catherine nodded curtly. "Ms. Vance, Mr. Vance, the deadline to vacate was 5 p.m. Are you ready to surrender the key?" Jacqueline laughed, a bitter, sharp sound. "You think you've won? You think you can just kick us out?" "Yes," Catherine said flatly. "That is precisely what is happening." "First," Jacqueline said, turning to me, "you're going to compensate us. For the emotional distress, for the car you deliberately sabotaged, for the public humiliation." Terry chimed in, pointing a finger at me. "That mechanic's bill is $3,000. Man, you owe me." This was their final flailing attempt to extort me. But I wasn't the same guy from 2 weeks ago. I just looked at Catherine. "As a reminder," Catherine said, her voice dropping a degree colder, "any claims for financial compensation are a civil matter. They have no bearing on your lease violation. You need to leave, now, or the next step involves me calling the sheriff to have you formally escorted out as trespassers. Your choice." The threat of actual, Uniformed authority, something they couldn't manipulate or argue with, was the final straw. Jacqueline's face crumpled. She looked at me, one last time, searching for a flicker of the old, accommodating me. She found nothing. She threw the key on the floor. "Fine," she spat. "Keep your stupid apartment. I hope you're happy being alone for the rest of your life." She grabbed her purse and a box and stormed out. Terry, after giving me a look of pure hatred, followed her, slamming the door behind him. Catherine did a quick walkthrough. Besides the mess, which I had to pay a cleaning fee for, there was no damage. I signed her paperwork, thanked her, and she left. And then, silence. My friends and I ordered pizzas and drank the beer Terry had left behind. It felt good to reclaim the space. The fallout has been quiet but decisive. I heard from a mutual friend that my text to their father did have an impact. He wasn't angry at me anymore, he was furious with them. Not for the grift itself, but for being so sloppy and getting caught. For creating a family drama he now had to deal with. Terry's broken-down monument to failure sitting in his driveway is apparently a source of daily arguments. Jacqueline has blocked me, but I got one last text from her, sent from her mom's phone 2 days ago. It just said, "I can't believe I wasted 2 years on you." I thought about all the things I could say back. About how she saw those 2 years, not as a partnership, but as an investment. She was angry, hadn't paid out. About how her waste was her own failed gamble, but I just deleted it. There's no grand ending where they see the error of their ways. That doesn't happen in real life. They'll continue to believe they were the victims, and I was the villain. Their version of the story is probably a legend by now at their family dinners. And that's fine. My victory wasn't the Tesla. It was the silence in my apartment after they left. It was the simple, profound peace of locking my own door, knowing the only person who had a key was me.